Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America Trading. Thank you for again tuning in to this most recent episode of our podcast, The Secret War on Cash. I have with me today a very special guest, Mr. Wes Peters. Good morning, Wes. How are you?
Hey, Dean. Good morning. I'm great. How are you doing?
Doing very well. Thank you so much for asking. You looking good?
Good.
I know you just got back from Missouri, I think, at a conference. Was that right?
Correct. Yeah. We were at the Worldview Weekend event there at Lake of the Ozarks. Had a great visit. Got to see a lot of clients face to face. Met a lot of new people. So yeah, it was very, very productive.
Well, good. And nice to have you back with us here today. A lot going on in the financial world today, Wes. I mean, I guess there always seems to be. These days, though, it's a lot more than activity. It's more a matter of changes, from my perspective, anyway, and big ones at that.
Right.
We've seen the establishment and growth of BRICS, interest rates and bond rates making huge reversals, corporate real estate experiencing vacancies like never before. Banking system shutting down branches like crazy, freezing accounts, and Lord knows what else. A big change that kind of slipped under the radar, though, for the most part, I feel, was this past March when Joe Biden signed an executive order that you'll see on your screen there that many would say is literally stripping away a lot of our personal freedoms and our liberties. And in this executive order, Section 4, it, quote, sets the stage for legal government surveillance of all U.S. citizens, total control over your bank accounts and bank accounts and purchases, I should say, and the ability to silence all dissenting voices for good. Seems like really oppressive language.
Right.
Financially, this is happening through the expansion of Central Bank Digital Currencies, or what are referred to as CBDCs. And as the writer of this article on your screen likes to call them Biden bucks, this form of currency is not the same as crypto, other than that they're both an electronic form of exchange. But those who are not in favor of CBDCs cite reasons such as lack of privacy and ability for the government to exercise complete control over our money. Wes, this is something we should be concerned about, I think, and if we should, kind of explain why.
Well, not only concerned, Dean, but possibly terrified.
Probably a good way to put
It's
it.
no secret our government doesn't like when people use dollars. That's why we have the peace secret war on cash. If you use cash, you're up to no good. You're trying to hide something. When we go digital, you can kiss all privacy goodbye. Uncle Sam is going to know everything you purchase. They're going to know who you do business with. They're going to know what organizations you donate and support. And it's no secret our government's been weaponized, and they're going to have what is it, 88,000 new IRS agents. Maybe your carbon footprint is too high. You didn't want to get the vaccine. You were warned not to buy a gas stove. Why do you drive a big diesel truck? They could very easily, just like China, Dean, they could go to this social credit score. China's had this social credit score for quite some time. If you have a low social credit score in China, it can prevent you from buying a plane ticket, getting a loan, buying real estate. And that's one of the big fears going into this digital currency is they're going to know everything about you. And that ties into one of the biggest reasons people are reaching out to us and ties into the number one question that we receive by far, Dean. Number one question by far is, okay, Wes, I buy this physical gold and silver. How am I going to use this when I can't go to the grocery store and buy food? I can't go to the gas station and put fuel in my vehicle, which is true. And anything's possible, but I don't believe we're going to get into a barter situation in our lifetime, but be prepared for that just in case. But the way our clients are going to be converting their gold and silver is, our government's going to sell this digital currency to the American people. It's going to save so much money on taxes for the taxpayer because we don't have to print money. We don't have to make coinage. They're going to make it seem like a seamless transition. Everything's going to work the same, more than likely. You'll still swipe a debit card, a credit card. You'll still write a check. But instead of the bank taking dollars from your account to pay that individual or retailer, they're going to take these digital credits, try and make it seamless. Well,
Sure.
that comes, our clients can say, okay, Wes, Dean, I need 3 or 4 months worth of living expenses to pay my bills, because you're going to have to use their currency if you have those debts. Try to stop using the dollar today and see how that works for you. But the beauty
Right.
of owning physical gold and silver, you can buy that privately, no 1099 on the purchase or the liquidation. And our clients can convert that gold and silver to that new currency as they need it, maybe 3, 4 months worth at a time, without laying all their cards on the table at once, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Sure. Sure. No, that's really good. Um, and I guess, Wes, since we're on the topic of digital currencies, let's talk a bit about the article you'll see on your screen there, or a link if you're tuning in through just the audio, but a bit about JP Morgan and their blockchain currency.
Right.
In the previous article we were just discussing, the CBDCs we were talking about are not blockchain. They're actually tracked and recorded in ledger form. But CBDCs are not done in a blockchain ledger. It's often touted for its anonymity and being decentralized, unlike banks. However, this opens it up to other problems such as fraud and crime. And a pretty big concern for many as well is that it's so private that if there's ever a glitch, tracking it down could be very difficult. And as JP Morgan has now stepped into this arena to the tune of $1 billion a day, it would seem that this is an unavoidable future for us all. I mean, is this something we should cheerfully embrace, or should we run?
Well, there's no doubt, Dean, there are some benefits and advantages to this blockchain technology, but there are also concerns, very valid concerns, like you said. And Citibank just came out recently and said by 2030, that'll be a $5 trillion industry between tokenization and blockchain technology. $5 trillion. There's no denying blockchain it's more efficient. It can streamline processes and settlement times, cut operational costs. For example, with the New York Stock Exchange, they do up to 1 billion trades a day. And most of these trades take 2 to 3 days to settle. With this blockchain technology, they'll be able to immediately settle those transactions. Tokenizing assets, real estate. It sounds a little hokey, and it's something that's new, but you could tokenize a commercial building or a home, and if you wanted to sell 1/10 of that home to somebody, you could sell 1/10 of that token to someone. It's very interesting, very complex. Transparency, everything's done on a ledger. It's going to be transparent, very liquid. Cross-border transactions, smart contracts. You can immediately sign a smart contract, and you don't have a delay or a waiting period. So those are all good things, but the downside, the negatives are like we're getting into the regulation and the compliance.
Sure.
Regulators will have to establish very clear guidelines for the blockchain, and that's going to be difficult. Back in May, the Securities and Exchange Corporation fined Binance and Coinbase over security violations. Security, blockchain, it can be hacked, and again, if it gets hacked, it's not FDIC insured for whatever that's worth today.
Mm-hmm.
So privacy is an issue. The token valuation is very volatile. So there are still a lot of things with this new technology to take it mainstream into our banking and finance system. A lot of things that still need to be worked out. So there is definitely cause for alarm, because if you woke up one morning and your tokens are gone, your account's been hacked, you may be on your own at this point right now.
Sure. Well, Wes, it's interesting. In earlier podcasts, we've been talking about or discussing some of the problems in our banking industry where people's bank accounts have been frozen, monies have been removed. It's taken months and months and months to have them replaced, or they as of yet have not even been replaced. And as I don't think there's any way of avoiding what's happening with digital currencies, because that just is the wave of the future. But what I find interesting when you talk about our banks getting into this arena, what it's doing is it's basically expanding the industry as a whole, meaning like you touched on, it'd be banks that are now taking on a form of transacting, not just on a domestic basis, but it even promotes it on a more global or a basis abroad, if you will. And the reason I'm bringing that up is that like owning and running a company like I do, they can't manage what they already have. And we're hearing these reports come out every day about there being another problem. And like, it's almost as though the solution is, you know what, we need to get bigger. We need to do more. And it seems kind of counterintuitive in my opinion.
Right. Well, and you brought up a great point there, Dean. We could do an hour segment talking about clients of ours who've had their bank accounts frozen, who've gone to the bank to wire money, and the bank has refused to wire their money for them because they didn't think it was in the client's best interest.
Right.
We go digital, and again, that social credit score, if you're not towing the line to their agenda, what's to prevent them from shutting off your digital currency?
Sure.
So yeah, it's
and that's a great point too, Wes, because there's been numerous cases where inexplicably a person's bank account has been frozen. And in the digital realm, if there's something the bank deems inappropriate, there really has been in a lot of these cases no explanation as to why they froze the account.
Right.
What do you do at that point when everything goes digital and they freeze your account? I mean, your ability to get in contact with somebody or locate your monies becomes, you don't have the FDIC more than likely. I haven't heard their involvement with this. So where does a depositor go to get their money or track things down?
Right. Can I share just a true life experience that was shared by one of my clients with me real quick?
Oh, but please.
So I have a client, has 3 stores, very successful. People still pay things in cash. She had tracked down a college girlfriend on Facebook through social media. They hadn't seen each other in about 12 years. So they talk about going to lunch, getting together and catching up. They meet for lunch, have a great time. They both have kids now established in their careers. And the bill comes due. And my client goes to pay the bill. The waitress comes back and says, ma'am, ran your card 3 times. It's been declined. She said, well, that's weird. So she gives her personal. She tried using her business account, gives her personal. Waitress comes back and says the same thing. She said, Wes, it was one of the most embarrassing days of my life. My girlfriend I haven't seen in about 12 years just sat there and watched 2 of my cards be declined. I had 0 cash. She had to buy the lunch that I invited her to. So needless to say, my client went right to the bank. Bank teller went and got the president and the VP, took her in the office. Now, keep in mind, I'm not going to say the name of this institution, but it's one of the big 5. She banked with them for 26 years. And they said to her, what's happened is we've frozen both of your accounts. We're going to give you cashier's checks today, and you need to go bank elsewhere. Wow. And she said, what are you talking about? We've never bounced a check. We have plenty of money in both of those accounts. It's going to be a headache. I have all these automatic payments and everything that I'm going to have to reestablish. And she said, Wes, all they kept saying is we've chosen to no longer do business with you. And that evening, as her and her husband are having dinner and they're racking their brains trying to figure out what the heck happened, the only thing they could come up with is, almost every day, whoever the manager on duty was would go to all 3 stores, get the deposits, and they would deposit cash into their business account. And every few months, they would wire money overseas to order materials for some of the products they manufactured. So they must have thought they were, weapons dealers, laundering money or something, but didn't even bother to call them in after that 26-year relationship to have a conversation like, hey, what's going on here?
Wow.
So just like that, blindsided.
Yeah, and I've heard several other examples and stories like that. It's absolutely amazing how much the whole landscape in this country has changed as it pertains to banking. And it's not that we've mentioned this before, that people who work at banks are bad. It's not that banks per se are bad. It's just, I don't know if you'd say the system has just become impersonal. I think it's a reflection of personal liberties that are kind of being infringed upon and lost here in this country. But again, all pointing back to reasons why being diversified with your assets, maybe having a couple different banks that you use, having your equities, having your real estate, having some metals, being diversified is really the key. And as you've seen, for those of you tuning in, or for those of you not, you'll see links in your headers there. We offer a few reports that can kind of help educate you on these things. We have our Secret War on Cash report. It's complimentary. All you need to do is contact our office at 1-800-289-2646, or you visit us online at www.swissamerica.com. We also have a special offer, limited time for new customers, on Walking Liberty half dollars. Just a great introductory form of silver that you can buy at a can't be beat price. You can call and find out more about that. Or if you just want to find out more about the gold market in general, for your retirement account, et cetera, you just contact our office again at that 800-289-2646 number. Wes, thank you for being with us today and for sharing all that information, especially that last story. It was very, very interesting.
Yeah. Thank you, Dean. Appreciate it.
Look forward to having you on with us again sometime soon. Feel free to comment. And for those of you tuning in, and to hear more episodes like this, please do subscribe. And lastly, follow us on social media, as we'd love to stay in touch with you. So I'm Dean Heskin, and this has been Wes Peters. Thanks again for tuning in, and we look forward to talking with you next time.